Welcome back to Clutch Takes. I hope you liked the video because it's going to be a controversial one. It's the top 10 NBA players in the league. Question of the day is your opinions on who's the top 10 players in the NBA. I hope you guys don't get too heated down there, but we'll continue with the video. Number 10, Joel Embiid. The reason why he's so low on this list is because of his playoff production and how he always seems to choke under pressure. And I want to know, Dan, why do you think Joel Embiid's not as good as the other 9 players?
I feel like he definitely has the potential as anyone else on this list to become near the top or higher in the rankings, as he does have best center in the league potential like everyone talks about, but his playoff production has not been there. We heard every excuse in the book this year about his sicknesses, and he keeps continuing to develop. He can improve, but for now he's at number 10.
Well, I also think that his maturity is also getting away with his skill because he's not exercising, he's eating really bad, and his antics are not accepted in the NBA, and he just needs to grow up, and maybe he'll become a superstar that everyone thinks he'll become. Coming at number 9 is Paul George. The reason why he's better than Embiid is because he's mature, and he's also an MVP candidate as he stepped up more than anyone could have imagined. And I think that his injuries also prevent him that going further, but his playoff production has also shown that he can't not be a first option on the team. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I honestly think that now that he's going with Kawhi Leonard, he has the chance to win a championship finally, as he can never get past LeBron James in the East like everyone else. I'm not faulting him for that, but now that he's in the West when he was on Oklahoma City, he can never get past the first round. So he just needed to suck it up, kind of just like Kyrie Irving, and be the second option on a team.
And also the 2 first-round exits you said about his resume, I think that the reason why it looks worse is because he joined Westbrook and teamed up with another All-Star, and he still was a first-round exit. Coming in at number 8 is Jokic, one of the most underrated players in the NBA and one of the most underappreciated players in the NBA, as he had an amazing playoffs in 2019. He almost averaged a triple-double with good percentages, and he also led the team to a second round, almost to a Western Conference Finals, and a second seed, as this team was written off of even making the playoffs last year. He's shown us that he can play better under pressure rather than Embiid and Paul George, but he also needs to average more points to move up on the list. But I think next year he'll show everyone what he's made of.
Yeah, I think that Jokic is definitely one of the more underrated players in the whole NBA, as the man is only 24 years old. The reason why he has such good passing abilities is because he was actually a point guard when he played in Europe. So that has an advantage for him, and he has the opportunity to be a triple-double threat like Russell Westbrook as being a center, which is pretty amazing.
Coming in at number 7 is the MVP runner-up of this year's MVP race, James Harden. He averaged 36 points per game, and as talented he is offensively, probably top 3 offensive players. Things that bring him down is playoff performances and his ability to lead a team to the finals. Dan, what do you think of James Harden?
I think that James Harden definitely could have been higher on this list if he finally got past Golden State, as Kevin Durant going down was a huge opportunity for him to prove himself, but he couldn't do it, as they couldn't even force a Game 7 as they lost in Game 6. And I also feel like this is part of D'Antoni's plan that ruins Harden, but it's just what we have to go by right now. So number 7 for James Harden.
Number 6, Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's the MVP of the 2019 season, but he's definitely not the MVP of the playoffs. He got locked up by Kawhi in the 3rd round, and he's probably the most dominant player in the NBA. He's not top 5 yet because he hasn't gone to the finals, as well as does not have a reliable jumper. Dan, what do you think of Giannis?
I think that Giannis has the potential to be the best player in the league, so everyone calm down, hold your horses before you come with the hate. But Giannis right now is not better than a lot of these players on the list, but that does not mean he has room to improve. He's one of the more young studs in the league, and you'll see him rise up the list very soon.
Number 5, Anthony Davis. His talent alone brings him to the 5th spot on our list because how talented he is and how he was more unlucky how his players were injured, and he's playing the hard West. It's why he had no playoff success, but his stats show otherwise. Dan, what do you think of Anthony Davis?
I think that Anthony Davis, like we say for a lot of these young players, has the potential to be the best player in the league. But Anthony Davis is a really strong consideration for that, as just a year ago everyone was saying who would you build your team around if you had to pick one player starting today, and almost everyone picked Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis can literally do everything. He doesn't have any flaws, and once he's on the spotlight with another good player with a good team, you'll see that soon.
Number 4, the best shooter of all time and the 2-time MVP, Steph Curry. He's won 3 titles and he has so many things on his resume that why wouldn't he be in the top 5? Talent-wise, he's close with Anthony Davis, but resume-wise, he's beyond better than Anthony Davis. Dan, what do you think of Curry?
I think that Curry, the only thing lacking on his resume is a finals MVP with how many times they've been now, but that eventually will come, maybe not for a while now that the West has gotten way tougher and Golden State's time may have passed. But Curry is still the best shooter in the league, no doubt, and there's no way you can't have him in the top 5.
Number 3 is Kawhi Leonard, the finals MVP of this year's champions, and also a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, and he's also actually won another finals MVP in 2014, so he has 2. He has a lot of things on his resume just like Curry, but he's way more better defensively. He's a much better clean player all around, and he's not higher in this list because of his injuries, and also he's just not as good of a scorer, doesn't not know how to pass as well as these other 2 players. What do you think, Dan?
I think that Kawhi Leonard is definitely one of the more efficient players in the NBA, as he rarely has an off night. But the things he needs to improve on to move up higher on this list is his passing, like Evan said, but also he needs to do this for longevity, like a longer amount of time. Once that happens, he definitely has the ability to move up.
Number 2 on this list is Kevin Durant, probably arguably the best scorer of all time, and also he's probably one of the tallest players with the best jumper of all time. I want to say that I'm sorry he had his Achilles injury. I hope he can have a speedy recovery. Dan, what do you think of Kevin Durant, and why do you think he's not number 1, and why do you think Kawhi's not as good?
I think that Kawhi is not as good because he hasn't done it for as long as Kevin Durant, but I also feel like Kevin Durant, he has more versatility. He can fit on any team, when Kawhi Leonard needs more of a system for him to succeed. Not saying he's a system player, but he just succeeds better in it. Kevin Durant, you can plug on any team and they're better. And Kevin Durant is not as good as LeBron James because LeBron James can carry his team to a championship when KD hasn't shown that himself yet. He hasn't carried his own squad. He's been on a stacked team like Golden State, why everyone hates him. Once he is able to win a championship in Brooklyn, there's serious consideration for best player in the league.
Number 1 is LeBron James. Who else could it be? Because all these years of making the finals 8 straight times, winning 3 championships, 3 finals MVPs. I don't need to go on. He has a long resume, and obviously he's one of the greatest players to play the game. I don't think 1 year is going to determine if he's not the best in the league anymore. I think it takes more than 1 year. It takes maybe 2 to 3 years. But that last year, apparently he had a bad year, but he still averaged 27, 8, and 8, which is an amazing stat line to have. Even though you think it's stat stuffing, he tried his hardest with the other players unmotivated to play and his injuries. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I think that definitely if LeBron James does not go down for 18 games, the longest stretch in his whole career, talk about Iron Man streak, LeBron James would have led his Lakers into the playoffs. And like LeBron says, if I'm an 8th seed, a 6th seed, a 7th seed, or a 1st seed, it doesn't matter. Once I'm in the playoffs, like I'm coming for it. I'm coming for the championship. So LeBron James finally has a squad this year, and we'll see what he can do this year. He's definitely coming back with a vengeance.
Well, that's the end of the video. the question of the day still stands as the top 10 players, and who do you think they are? And I hope you guys can subscribe, leave a comment. I'll see you guys next time.